If you are rebuilding your life after divorce, then this is for you. And I want to talk about like rebuilding your identity. Identity is such a hot topic when it comes to both loss and change, to adding to your life, to taking away from your life, because it's natural for us to start to identify with where we're at, with who we are in these moments. And so then when something changes, when something gets taken away, that identity also goes with it. And then you're left with this empty space to try and figure out what to fill it with. And certainly for myself and what I see in a lot of the clients that I work with going through divorce, that there's this sense of like, I don't know who I am anymore. Um, and so, whether you have already gone through a divorce and this is just validating for you, or you are somebody who is currently going through a divorce and you are saying, I don't know who I am anymore. I can't figure that out. It doesn't matter what age you are. It makes sense. And I want you to know that it's okay to be in a place where you're trying to figure some things out about who you are. Most women truly do feel like they lose themselves in their marriage. And I am going to be talking about why that happens. But first, I want to talk about what nobody tells you about in regards to the hardest part of divorce. I truly don't think the hardest part for me was going through the process of divorce. I don't think it was sitting in mediation. I don't think it was the day I packed everything up and left. I feel like it was when I realized how much of myself I had given up to try and make this marriage work, because I thought and believed that I needed to be a certain person in order to make my now ex-husband happy with me, to make our marriage look amazing, feel amazing, be amazing. And so I didn't just lose a husband in my marriage. I had lost my voice. I was not speaking up for my needs. I wasn't speaking up for the things that I didn't agree with that were happening. And I was very shut down. I didn't even realize, if I'm being honest with you, how small I was playing in that marriage until I had moved out. I didn't realize how much of myself I had actually lost, until I we separated and I moved out of our house. So I can't even imagine, for those of you who are parents going through divorce, what that is like, because that adds a whole nother layer. But I want to talk about why this is happening. Why every woman that I talk to who goes through a divorce says, I have lost myself. So, I'm going to be sharing with you about my personal experience. I want to talk about the labels that we wear. I want to talk about, I'm going to share with you the steps that I took to get my individuality back, and some practical steps that you can take, along with some journal prompts, because I feel like we get into this place where we're asking questions about why things happen, but we don't ask ourselves the questions that we need to answer in order to get more clarity about ourselves. So, I want to tell a little story. This was the year before I ended up getting divorced. I vividly remember being at the edge of our bed and I was folding the laundry. I had just gotten done with a day's work. I was stressed. I was tired. I was burnt out. We were already in a funky place. He had been off of work for a couple of hours already. He had a hobby of rebuilding old cars. And so he was in the garage and I could hear all the, whoop, 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 like sounds in the garage. And I'm folding this laundry and I'm pissed. I'm pissed. And I remember just like talking out loud to myself, like, this is bullcrap. I mean, I used to curse a lot, before I gave my life to Christ. So, like everything I'm about to say, I used to say, fill it in with a curse word. Okay. So I was just like, this is bullcrap. Like, why am I doing all this? Why am I the one that's expected to take care of all the things that need to be taken care of? I want to be taken care of. I'm tired of this. I'm sick of this. This isn't what I asked for. And then I started like saying nasty things about him, like, you're such a POS, you're lazy, you don't care about me, like, all of the things that I'm telling you the honest truth of what happened for me. And I know that I'm not the only one that like has this sort of like big moment of resentment and anger and frustration about what has happened. And so I I I I was I was stuck. I was stuck in what had happened, right? I was stuck in the over functioning, um, feeling invisible, feeling uncared for, feeling resentful, and never actually saying anything that I wanted to really say because I was so afraid and I had gotten so used to shrinking and appeasing the relationship that I could only have these conversations with myself. So like inevitably, like how could a marriage work in that sort of circumstance? You know what I mean? So um, I I I started to speak up, and obviously that didn't work because that's not the marriage that we had developed with each other. And I don't think either of us were in a place to be able to hear one another out or express things. Hey, thank you, sir. So what ended up happening was I got labeled as selfish. I got labeled as too much. I got labeled as too emotional. I got labeled as expecting too much. That I think I'm too good, right? I got labeled with all of these things. So I I held on to them. I believed that they were true. And what did that do? That made me shut down more. And so inevitably when we got divorced, I started to realize that all of these things that I was doing to keep this marriage together were, in fact, like taking me further away from myself in the process. And so, one of the things that I need you to know, wherever you're at in your marriage, this dog right here. Oh my gosh. The one thing that I do need you to know is that it is okay. You are not the only person that feels lost, that feels confused, that feels uncertain about like who you are and where you're going to go from here because of all of those things that you held back from expressing. But what I want to promise you is that you deserve to have all of those things expressed and not hold back and not pretend and not shrink. Just like I did. I deserved to be able to share how I was feeling and what I needed. I deserved to use my voice. And I'm saying this to myself, like I deserved it. I'm not saying anything about him. I truly just deserve to give my voice a voice, just like you do. I remember the day that my ex-husband asked for the divorce. And um, I remember falling to my knees and like looking up to him with like snot running down my nose and just my eyes like just dripping with tears, begging him, please don't do this. Please don't do this. I'll do anything to fix it. I will fix this. Please, please, please don't do this. And he said, well, I'm not happy. This isn't working. And I was like, we can make it work. We can make it work. And then he made a comment that was part of what helped me realize that the identity that I was even trying to appease was never it. Because he said, I didn't get married to you to have a wife. I got married to have a family. So who I am as a wife isn't even what he wants. All these things that I've given up of myself, all these things I had been doing wasn't enough. I had to be more. I had to be a version that like still is not what is working for him. And so it wasn't until the day that I moved out from our separation that I recognized that I could breathe again, that I felt this lightness that I hadn't had in a while, and that I didn't feel ashamed of me. I felt ashamed of our divorce. That was the whole thing that I had to work through. But it wasn't like the freedom or the leaving that like gave me this. It took time. Like moving out gave me the sense of like, wow, I can kind of like be my own again. Like I can let whatever wants to come out. And then that road trip from West Coast to East Coast was another just like, oh my gosh, like there's so much about me I didn't know. And then living on the East Coast with no friends or family around was like, wow, like now I'm even learning another layer to myself. And that's how my individuality really started to rebuild, was in this place of allowing the potential of what's next to be experienced as like a new canvas, that I was just absorbing everything that I was going through. My story is important because it's not going to be like yours, and it's never going to be like anybody else's, but it carries a few things that I hope that you can listen to this and take away, from feeling both more empowered and more connected to you. Because I believe that when women go through divorce, the reason why you lose yourself is because you start to over identify in these roles, as wife, as mom, as like the household manager, as the emotional regulator, as the schedule keeper. And what happens is you start to adapt and adjust your life to that title. You start to carry this level of expectation for yourself. You start to add to this pressure that's already brewing in the expectations of the work. And because society rewards these sacrificial women and this level of selflessness, you lose these other aspects of yourself, because there's this badge of honor that we start to carry as being selfless women who can do all of these things under our household and the marriage. But the truth is that you don't have to lose yourself in order to adapt. um, I feel like this is so powerful because as I was like writing notes out for this and I was starting to think about this, we have to adapt in certain situations. Currently, I'm in an adaptation phase, right? I have become a stepmom from being single from 30 until 42. And now I'm a wife and I am a stepmom. And I'm having to adapt to like show up for two toddlers that need me in the ways that they need me. But what I'm learning in this is that, and because, I'm a part-time bonus mom here, so I get the break off, I'm starting to see how there's these different roles that I'm coming back and forth to. But for those of you who are full-time parents, you also have to learn how to adapt to, it's not all about them. Like, you have to make some of this about you. You have to be selfish in your needs, in your wants, and in your desires. Women, I believe, are the most malleable species on the planet. We can literally do everything. We can literally take on any sort of expectation, problem to solve, whatever it may, and we do something with it. Women are powerful, and we keep our family systems running. Let's be honest, we keep our family systems running, but we give up a part of who we are in order to keep that system running. And that's what I mean by learning how to not lose yourself while you adapt, because there is a way to keep all of who you are and navigate these roles in a different way. And so now you're divorced and the roles are either stripped from you or they change because you become a part-time parent, between your spouse, or you become a divorcee that is now single when you thought by now you would maybe even have a kid and you don't yet. There is a expectation that you have to give up when you get divorced, because life is automatically different. It's going to look different, it's going to feel different, and you're going to be different because you've now just gone through this huge, huge change, disruption event in your life. So identity shrinking isn't disappearing. It's like literally suppressing yourself, which is why for me, folding that laundry was me kind of like almost exploding, because I had suppressed all of these needs and wants that I had and not really ever expressed them. There are traps that we fall into when we go through a divorce. Labels, damaged goods, who's ever going to want to date me, I'm a divorcee, I'm too old. What if I never find somebody else? I failed my marriage. I should have tried harder. That was something that I said. I could have done something different. I don't think I can make it on my own. Divorce is not an event. To me, divorce is part of an identity. Divorce is a loss. Divorce changes you. It truly changes you. And if you are trapped by some of those beliefs, then you are holding on to not only a lack of what you're truly capable of, but what you deserve. Because at the end of the day, whether that relationship ended positively or negatively, you have automatically been set free to really redefine your rules in your life and what you want life to look like moving forward. There's freedom in that. There truly is freedom once you get over the hump. You're not a failure. You are not a statistic, and you're not damaged goods. You are becoming the best version of yourself in this season because of this. You are becoming more vocal, more aligned, more stable because of the season that you're in. And you're becoming recalibrated to the parts of yourself that you love, that you lost in this older season. What a gift that is. That may never have happened had this event not taken place. And again, that's coming from somebody who went through it, and it took a while to see it that way. If I were not defined by my divorce, I would not have chosen to move to the other side of the country. I wouldn't have been able to. If I were to not allow this divorce, if I allowed this divorce to define me, I probably would have never dated outside my race. If I would have allowed this divorce to define me, I wouldn't have taken opportunities I would have continued to look at my career through a very narrow lens of like, I went to school to be a therapist, so I'm a therapist, and I would not have taken on opportunities to do things outside of that, like styling, coaching, authoring, speaking, all of those things. So I want to ask you the same thing. What do I deeply need? Or sorry, if I were not defined by this divorce, who would I choose to become over the next 3 years? If you are not defined by what happened to you, who would you choose to become? What would that look like? What would you have to believe about yourself in order to actually get there? There's another question I have, and this is a journal prompt. I should have prefaced it by that. But the second one is, what do I deeply need in order to feel safe, respected, and fulfilled? And where did I stop asking for that? And this was a huge one for me because I need to like feel like my emotions aren't too much, right? I needed to feel like my needs were valued and that they were important. And I didn't feel that. And so I found fulfillment in shopping, going out with my girlfriends, staying out of my house while I was married. Like that's when I felt the most fulfilled. And instead of asking for what I needed, I kept it all in and built all of this resentment back up. The next one is, if I stopped shrinking and played full out with my life, what would I want? And what big goal would I finally go after? For me, this one took a while because I had a hard time seeing outside of my circumstances. I still had a hard time seeing beyond what I was going through. But you're seeing me in real time, no longer shrinking and putting myself out there in ways that, like, I don't know what the ramifications or the reinforcements of me doing this is, other than the fact that I am feeling more confident every time I post. I'm learning new things about myself as I'm processing and like I said, taking notes and journaling out this stuff. And it's making me love myself more because I am truly amazed with, I went through so much after my divorce. and to still see life the way that I see it, I'm really proud of myself for, because I could have a completely different outlook. Now, I want to give you guys some advice because I see this mistake happen often, and I made this mistake as well, which is we tend to want to like rebound after divorce very quickly, because we, like, again, there's a sense of freedom. You don't have to like, you have nobody to come home to anymore. There's this sense of like being set free. Maybe there's just like a desire that you had not had met for a very long time. And so, like, I just want to encourage you, wherever you're at in your divorce process, until it's final and it's been about a year, my encouragement is to you, do not date immediately. Stick to dating yourself, stick to getting to learn yourself, stick to walking through this process and seeing how you navigate all of these different quirks and changes and things happening. Lean into your friendships, lean into God, explore your faith a little bit more, and just do not bring the man's into your life. Okay. You don't need a rebound booty call. You just need some chocolate and a good movie. Don't lean on alcohol and partying. Again, that's something that I did. I was going out a lot. I was going out because the alcohol allowed me to just kind of like let go of my inhibitions. It also allowed me to feel less anxious, and I got attention from a lot of people, and that made me feel good in an era when I felt like, I was obviously very disappointed. And the other thing I'm going to encourage you to do, as hard as it may be, don't blame him or obsess over what he did wrong in this situation, because it's already happened. You're going through it, or you're about to, or you already have, and it's still in the way. Blaming him and obsessing over what went wrong is not going to serve you, and it's not going to get you closer to you. It's actually going to take you further away, because all of your energy is on somebody else, and you deserve to have all of your energy on you. When you remove these distractions, when you remove these numbing agents, when you remove this kind of like external focus, you start to learn and value all the things that you need and want, and then you meet them much more quickly. Even as you're like maybe healing through this process, you're still learning. You're still learning about yourself and your needs and what you want. And so most women don't know what they even like after divorce. I think I was young enough to kind of like still have some of my things intact. But I feel like as women get older, I often hear, well, I don't even know what I like anymore. I don't even know what I enjoy. I don't even know what brings me pleasure. And so I just want to encourage you to explore what those are. What do I enjoy when no one's watching? What are things I love to do as a kid that I've stopped doing? What music do I like? What type of food do I like to eat? Where do I like going on the weekends, right? Like, I feel as if there's all of these things that you have like put on the wayside because now the focus is on you and him, or you, him, and the kids. So here is an opportunity for you to rediscover what it is about you that is you. What are those things? I encourage you to go on solo dates. I encourage you to go on solo trips. Those are so important. I encourage you to try new things. I mentioned in another video, like, I grew up horseback riding. And so I, about 6 months into living out on the East Coast, I found an equestrian center and started doing English riding and learning how to jump. Like, I try things, go out and try things. The point is that your confidence is going to return when you do things alone. You won't become more insecure because you're by yourself. You will actually become more confident the more that you do things. If you sit on the couch and cry and wallow and you just stay there the whole time, which is an important part of the grieving process, I'm not going to minimize that. But if that's all you're doing, you're going to continue to lose yourself in that process. And you have just somehow been set free to allow the part of you that you have literally kept stuck down to come alive and show you who she is. That's exciting. That is so exciting. So another way that you can do this, I help a lot of women in this area, is you start to reclaim who you are through your expression of your clothes. Who do you want to be? Clean out your closet. Start fresh. I'm not saying buy new clothes. I love thrifting, but change your hair. Like, look at your wardrobe and what part of you really wants to come alive. Like, speak differently, walk differently, act differently. Like, this is not you rebelling over what happened. Like, this is you, like, being an activist to your own needs. You're standing up for yourself. So dress like who you're becoming in this next season. And the last piece is releasing the shame. That part is so important and valuable. Whatever shame you are carrying about this relationship not working, about how it's impacted your children, about how it's made you look to other people, shame keeps you small. Shame keeps you questioning yourself, and shame keeps you like punishing yourself. You are not a divorced woman. You are a woman who went through a divorce. There's a difference in that. You are not a divorcee. You are a woman who walked through a divorce and came out the other side loving herself more, more creative, more available to herself, more attuned to her needs, more adventurous, more joyful, more peace-filled. There's a lot of power in that. There's a lot of power in that. So, in rebuilding your life after divorce, I want to remind you, you are surviving something big, and the version of you who used to shrink to try and keep the peace needs to be blessed and released. Thank you for being a part of my life, for keeping me here, because you have a new version of you that you are rebuilding that gets to choose peace without shrinking, performing, people pleasing, perfecting, whatever it may be. What I truly believe is that what sometimes can be a very painful experience or loss, like divorce, doesn't actually end your identity or make you lose it. It's returning you to a part of yourself that's always been there, that is ready to like be in the lead again. So my name is Brianna. I'm first and foremost a 20 plus year licensed clinical psychotherapist. I'm also a multifaceted mentor working with 6 and 7 figure CEOs to help bridge the gap between their professional success and the areas of their personal life that they're struggling in most. I'm an author, I'm a speaker, and I am now a daily YouTuber. So we'll see you tomorrow.